Good evening. Police say a rash of violent assaults across the city's core left one man dead.
Tonight, two people, including a 12-year-old boy, are in police custody facing charges. CTV's Beth McDonnell is live downtown tonight with the latest. Beth.
Nathan, Toronto police say except for the homicide investigation, all these incidents were either attempted robberies or robberies, and called them all extremely violent attacks. On Sunday, August 31st in Toronto's downtown core, police say a 12-year-old and 20-year-old went on a violent crime spree. At times during the 5 attacks, one of them was armed with a hammer. 3 of the victims were people experiencing homelessness, and in one case, it's led to the alleged killing of a man beaten in Nathan Phillips Square.
It is here that they encountered a 62-year-old underhoused male sleeping on a bench. Unprovoked, they began violently beating this male.
Police say all the attacks took place between 5:45 and 8:07 in the morning, with the first 2 at or near Yonge and Dundas. To start, they say the accused approached a man experiencing homelessness sitting on a bench and beat him. He managed to escape, but a short time later, police say the pair attacked another unhoused victim, this time a 70-year-old. He got away too before being rushed to hospital with serious injuries. It was the 3rd attack that took place at Nathan Phillips Square, police say, against the 62-year-old man. This time, the accused took off, with the man going to hospital with serious injuries. He was released, but police say he died 4 days later.
The cause of death was determined to be related to this attack.
Leaving the square, police say the pair went to Gerrard and Yonge, where they tried to take a 63-year-old man's phone. But when he tried to get it back, they pushed him to the ground, before moving on to College and Yonge, where they asked to use another male's phone. When he refused, police say the accused slapped the phone out of his hand and threw an object at him.
Thanks to the keen eye of 2 young officers from 52 Division, the accused were arrested shortly after this final attack.
What is very concerning is the age of one of the accused. A 12-year-old male who cannot be identified has been charged with second-degree murder, along with a 20-year-old man, Isaiah Byers, 20, of Toronto.
Police say both accused were on release orders at the time and both remain in custody. Police are hoping more people come forward in these investigations. Police say other people were approached by the same pair that same morning, and they believe there were also witnesses. The 62-year-old man who died, his identity has not been yet released as police continue to notify his next of kin. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Toronto police have identified the 43-year-old man shot and killed late Saturday night in North York. Paulin Harusha was behind the wheel of a black Audi when he was shot and killed just before midnight Saturday. Harusha was driving on Meadow Acres Drive, which runs off of Victoria Park, just north of the 401. Police spent much of Sunday collecting evidence at the scene. The car had 6 bullet holes in the driver's side window. A portion of its bumper was also laying on the ground several meters behind the car. Investigators say a light-colored SUV was seen leaving the area shortly after the shooting. Anyone with any information or dash cam footage from the area at the time is asked to call police.
A man in his 70s is charged with impaired driving after 3 pedestrians were struck by a car in North York. This happened just before 3:30 yesterday afternoon at Yonge and Churchill. A man and woman in their mid-20s to early 30s are in critical condition, and another woman around the same age has serious but non-life-threatening injuries. The driver was also taken to hospital with minor injuries. In an update late last night, police said he was arrested for impaired driving.
And one person has serious injuries after a collision between a motorcycle and a car in Mississauga. It happened at Kennedy and Coopers Avenue just after 6:30 this morning. Paramedics tell us one person was rushed to hospital in serious condition. There's no word yet on what caused the crash.
Toronto police now say 9 people were arrested as the result of a rally and counter-demonstration in the city on Saturday. These incidents occurred after a Canada First rally against mass immigration and a counter-demonstration that both took part in Christie Pitts. The rally participants also marched through the core to Sankofa Square, with demonstrators following along the route. The rally and demonstration drew a large police presence, including mounted officers, and at one point, police with riot weapons closed Bloor Street. Toronto police say 9 men ranging in age from 18 to 58 were arrested. The charges include assault, mischief, causing a disturbance, and weapons dangerous.
Also tonight, Ontario's Liberal Party needs a new leader. Bonnie Crombie emerges from the annual general meeting on the way out, setting in motion yet another leadership race.
But first, a live look outside this evening as we continue to enjoy gorgeous September weather. And best of all, many more days of sun and warmth are in store. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with all the sunny details. Lindsay.
Yes, Michelle, more in the way of sunshine. And as we progress through this week, we're actually going to get a little warmer, a little more humid. Right now, it is 23 degrees, feeling like 25, comfortably warm for this point in September. We've got calm winds. They're coming from an easterly direction. If anything, we've had a couple of fair weather clouds. Otherwise, it's been a beautiful blue sky today. And now as we make our way into the evening, ideal conditions for hitting up a patio, enjoying some time outside. And yes, there's much more of this on the way as we progress through the week. But where's the rain? We'll take you through the 7-day forecast coming up. Nathan, for now, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Ontario's Liberal Party will begin the process of selecting a new leader in the near future after Bonnie Crombie announced she would step down following a vote this weekend at the party's annual meeting.
Now the question is who will step forward to run for the leadership, with several familiar names already being talked about. CTV's Siobhan Morris joins us live tonight from Queen's Park with the very latest. Siobhan.
Well, so far, nobody is officially in this race. We don't even have the contours of what it's going to look like. But senior Liberals do expect there to be a lot of interest to replace Bonnie Crombie. Bonnie Crombie's exit as Ontario Liberal leader comes after less than 2 years on the job. Only 57% of delegates at the party's annual general meeting wanted her to stay. Crombie says she decided to go after speaking with her family, the party executive, and her caucus.
People were there in a supportive way to support their friend and their colleague. And she asked them for their advice, and they all gave their advice individually. I'm not going to say what that advice was.
But Liberal MPPs reject any whisper of a revolt or an effort to push Crombie out. While more than half of the Liberals who voted wanted to stick with Crombie.
It was a tough election campaign. She did her best.
Liberals now say going forward with a new leader is what's best for the party.
If we really want to make the inroads with Ontarians and actually have a chance of forming government in the next election.
The Liberals are entering their third leadership contest since the Wynne government's defeat in 2018. There are some existential questions to consider.
Who they are and what they are, because what we just saw happen doesn't necessarily help the party and strengthen them to take on Doug Ford. They're basically starting all over again.
MP Karina Gould, who ran for leadership of the federal Liberals this spring, has been mentioned as a possible Ontario contender. So has her caucus colleague, Nate Erskine-Smith. He came in second to Bonnie Crombie in the leadership contest in 2023.
He's someone that I think has a special ability to, number one, communicate in this day and age to young people.
Erskine-Smith coy about the possibility of pursuing leadership again.
I got no idea what the future holds for me exactly.
Political analyst Scott Reed says for Liberals, it's less important to pick a new leader quickly than to pick well.
What the party really, really needs is someone who can light the lamp, someone who has the political talent to break through, to get noticed, to take the fight to Doug Ford.
Though there needs to be time to attract good quality candidates.
Because this party cannot afford to keep coming third, or it may not be around to compete elections down the road.
We don't know yet what the rules will be for this Liberal leadership race or the timeline. It's something the party president says the executive will decide at a later date. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. A strike by college support staff in Ontario is putting a squeeze on some parents of young children.
They're now stuck trying to find alternative options for childcare, as some centers staffed by college workers are temporarily closed. CTV's Sean Leathong has the details.
A daycare in Parkdale sitting empty. Their early childhood educators employed by George Brown College, now part of the province-wide strike by college support staff.
It's a real scramble like all the other families.
David Bush has a 2-year-old daughter. When college workers went to the picket lines, Bush and his partner had to rely on a family friend, then hired a private care worker at $25 an hour.
That was great, but an unsustainable model for us.
There are 14 daycares run by George Brown College that are closed in the city. David Bush has managed to find an alternative a little farther away with shorter hours, meaning he has to take time off work.
Anyone who has a toddler, it's that transition is tough. They don't understand why they're not going to their regular daycare. They don't know anyone there. They're not familiar. They love their daycare.
We contacted OPSU to ask about the decision to allow daycares to close. They sent a statement which reads in part, "We encourage concerned parents to contact their college and urge their employer back to the table to settle a fair agreement that will protect jobs and services like daycares that our communities rely on. We also extend our gratitude to all the parents using childcare services operated by our members who stand in solidarity with us during strike action, understanding that this fight is shared and will impact the future of those services for generations to come."
We support our workers for sure, and we support the college having a properly funded college system.
But as there appear to be no negotiations happening, the question is for how long? Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Still ahead, Prime Minister Carney and Conservative leader Poilievre face off for the first time in the House of Commons with Parliament back in session. The highlights and insights on the fall agenda. Next to mounting concerns over congestion being voiced by some residents of the Annex.
Neighbors who say a city strategy to address traffic on one nearby street has pushed all those vehicles onto theirs. CTV's Natalie Johnson explains.
The signs here are clear. This is a no-go zone for trucks. But one after the other, heavy vehicles roll down this residential street in the Annex. And Fernanda Pisani, who was born in this Euclid Avenue house and has known this street all her life, has had enough of the racket ruining the peace on the porch.
Especially in the summer when you sit down and you want to have some relaxed time, it could get very stressful to have streams of cars coming.
The problem, as she and some of her neighbors see it, is one block over on Palmerston.
Everything was working perfectly until it wasn't.
The parallel route has been reconfigured over the past few years so that some blocks run north and some run south.
You're forced onto one street, you have to make a left here, make a right here, make a left here, make a right here.
Forcing traffic onto smaller side streets like Euclid.
It's designated a local street, and local means access to property. This street was so you could get home to your house. Now it's a thoroughfare.
While Palmerston now sits largely empty of cars, looking more like an extra wide bike lane. The changes to Palmerston were approved in 2021, designed to reduce through traffic on the street and encourage cycling to get people out of their cars.
We call this a neighborhood greenway. And so Palmerston has been changed in that way. And so far the data shows that more people are cycling, vehicle volumes are down, and overall the project's been a great success.
It's a safe, quiet street where lots of people walk and lots of people cycle, which is exactly what some streets should be.
Local councillor Diane Sachs says there has been an increase in car volume on Euclid and other Annex streets, and says she'll consult the community on the prospect of turning some blocks southbound to discourage through traffic.
As more and more streets become quieted, the remaining streets get more traffic. And we know that this is just a continuous knock-on.
These residents, though, say instead of changing more streets, get rid of the Greenway and put Palmerston back to how it used to be.
It's not for outside individuals to calculate what is best for the residents who live here.
You don't shut off the tap on one street and let the overflow go everywhere else.
Overflow, they say, is overwhelming their smaller streets. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
A major construction union is walking away from the Ontario Federation of Labour, saying it wants no part in what it calls an attack on the Ford government.
The labor strike precipitated by a story CTV News first brought you last week, all over a government fund that doles out billions. CTV's John Woodward reports.
Give it up for Doug! Earlier this year, Premier Doug Ford got a hero's welcome by private sector union LiUNA.
No other government in my 47 years at LiUNA has introduced a program like this, like the Ford government has in the province of Ontario.
LiUNA's Canadian director was talking about the Skills Development Fund, or SDF. $26 million had been earmarked months before to build a LiUNA training center, and Ford wasn't done.
A re-elected PC government will invest another billion, that's with a B.
That fund today worth $2.5 billion, but some grants issued by that fund were called into question by public sector union OPSU last week, saying amid massive layoffs, program cuts, and an ongoing strike, it's colleges, not private companies, that need that training money. In response, LiUNA's leader, Joseph Mancinelli, walked LiUNA out of the Ontario Federation of Labour in protest, saying LiUNA has a strong partnership with our colleges in Ontario, and it is a disservice to create a conflict between private sector training centres and colleges. This is nothing but bad politics attacking the Ford government.
Criticizing a program that they've received funding from, significant funding in the case of LiUNA, and LiUNA's had a long-term relationship with the Ford government and the Conservatives.
At issue were a pair of grants totaling $11 million to Scale Hospitality to train at-risk youth to work in their network of Toronto area restaurants, even though bureaucrats scored their application low. One of the restaurants, the Wheat Sheaf, hosted then Labour Minister Monty McNaughton for a news conference in 2022. Standing behind him, Scale Hospitality's Hanif Harji. After a week of questions from CTV News, the Ontario government finally provided some performance metrics for those Scale Hospitality grants. The company reported training 5,000 people, and of those, 3,500 got jobs. Colleges Minister Nolan Quinn happy to talk about other SDF grants.
There were 40 projects that were funded in our colleges, amounting to approximately $75 million.
The Auditor General is looking into the Skills Development Fund. As for LiUNA, government records show it's been funded to the tune of $23 million since 2018. John Woodward, CTV News.
A big day in Ottawa, where it was back to work for MPs with the government's priorities being rolled out.
And the first showdown between the Prime Minister and the Conservative leader during question period. CTV senior political correspondent Mike Lecouture reports.
The Liberals will need help from any opposition party if they want to make progress on things like bail reform and immigration changes. And let's not forget, they still have to pass a budget.
So I'm looking forward to a collaborative session.
The Prime Minister was preaching collaboration, while many were anticipating today's confrontation.
Mr. Speaker, why is it that all of this Prime Minister's promises of yesterday turn into today's disappointments?
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre attacked the Prime Minister's record. Mark Carney responded with a dig about Poilievre's absence from the House as he campaigned in a by-election.
He missed the largest tax cut for 22 million Canadians. He missed the cut on the GST for new homes. He missed eliminating all federal barriers to trade.
Despite all the jabs, all are calling for cross-partisan collaboration on issues like housing, bail and immigration reform, and the ongoing affordability crisis.
We're going to oppose the government where it makes sense. We are going to support things that make sense, and we are going to expose what they're not telling us.
We are a minority government, yes, but we believe that we have a mandate to proceed with major things.
It's why Liberal House Leader Steve McKinnon said his party is willing to negotiate on details, not principles.
There will be no negotiation, but we want to collaborate. What does that mean? Obey? Become Liberals? Might not happen.
It's by force of will that I ignore the fact that Mr. Carney seems to have one speed, which is fast, and one vehicle, which is a bulldozer.
Any collaboration will be tested soon, as the Liberals will need help to pass a budget this fall, one that the government says is projected to have a substantial deficit. Mike Lecouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, we learned more details about the cost of the April 28th election that gave the Liberals their near majority, and also more insight into voter behavior. CTV's Judy Trent has the details.
We had prepared to deliver an accessible and secure election, and we did.
The snap federal election cost about $570 million, and it resulted in a record number of Canadians who cast their ballots before the April 28th election date. For early voters, lineups were longer than expected.
So the campaigns are inciting voters to go in and vote so that they can focus on perhaps the undecided electors.
Of the 19.8 million people who voted, 8.7 million voted in advance polls. That's 44% who voted before Election Day. In its report, tabled in Parliament, Elections Canada says the trend of early voting will continue and that it will increase pressure on the organization to find enough workers and space to hold advance polls.
We will need to think about the capacity to continue to expand the service offering, particularly ahead of polling day, and especially given the growing difficulties we face.
Solutions being recommended include extending the minimum length of an election period from 36 days to a few days longer, and using an electronic registry to speed up the verification of voters so lines move faster.
Elections Canada is also doing a review of its mail-in voting process after problems arose in the riding of Terrebonne, Quebec. The wrong postal code of the local elections office was printed on some labels. And after 2 recounts, a Liberal candidate won by just 1 vote. A legal challenge has been mounted by the Bloc Québécois and will be heard in the Quebec Superior Court in October. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Starting today, Canada Post workers are no longer delivering commercial flyers.
The move comes after the union said it would end a ban on overtime work. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth has the story.
Unionized postal employees have taken to the streets, rallying and urging Canada Post to return to the bargaining table. Negotiations have lasted more than 21 months with no deal in sight. Last month, the union voted down what Canada Post said was its final offer. Workers want the government to intervene like it did during the recent Air Canada strike.
We're doing this across country, so the message is for the MPs to tell Canada Post to go back to the table and negotiate.
Employees have reversed their overtime ban, but are now refusing to deliver commercial flyers.
We'll deliver the letter mail, we'll deliver the parcels, we'll deliver everything else except for the flyers.
In a statement, Canada Post said this decision impacts the thousands of Canadian businesses that reach their customers with information and offers through the mail. Some Canada Post customers have no problem with not receiving flyers.
No, not at all.
Others rely on flyers to find the cheapest deal for groceries.
I like to price match. And if I don't have my flyer, I can't price match.
According to Canada Post, the move also impacts unionized employees who are paid to deliver flyers on top of their wages. Workers hope this latest move forces Canada Post to re-examine the issues the union wants improved in their next collective agreement.
Fair wages, improved health and safety, expansion of the public service, and a right to retire with dignity.
Canada Post says they've lost more than $5 billion since 2018, and major changes are needed to keep the company sustainable long term. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Coming up, top pitching prospect Trey Yesavage makes his major league debut tonight. The 22-year-old's rapid rise and expected role with the first place Blue Jays.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, there is a new type of boat you may see on the water called a Sea-Doo Switch. It's like a Sea-Doo pontoon boat. But one family with one of these boats says it almost capsized. And following a recall, they still have safety concerns. I'll have my reports just ahead.
Well, a shout out to Sandy Lake in northern Ontario, climbing to 31 degrees today. I want to remind you that our seasonal norm in Toronto is about 21. We're going to be above that tomorrow and for much of this week until about next weekend. Condition-wise, is there any rain in the forecast? We'll show you coming up. Stay with us. CTV News will be back in 2 minutes.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
If you're into boating, you may have noticed a new kind of watercraft on lakes and rivers this summer. It's called a Sea-Doo Switch.
It's a new type of boat that combines the power of a Sea-Doo with the attributes of a pontoon boat. But a safety recall has raised some concerns. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. A family from the Ottawa area contacted us after buying one of these boats. They had been enjoying it, but say this summer it almost capsized and sank. There's been a safety recall and other cases of the boats flipping over. They are one of the latest designs for fun on the water, the Sea-Doo Switch. It has the power of a Sea-Doo and the seating arrangement of a pontoon boat. Marcus Hurl of St. Isidore says he wanted something fun to use with his children and grandchildren.
We wanted to have something that's family-oriented,
They presented us with the Sea-Doo switch.
Hurl says he was out on the St. Lawrence River this summer. There were 3 adults and 3 children under the age of 3. When another boat passed by, he says his Sea-Doo switch started taking on water.
It was like a scoop that was scooping up water into the boat.
He feared for his grandchildren's safety and was worried the boat might capsize.
The rear end of the boat was now coming up out of the water. 2 of our grandchildren basically were swimming in the water from there at that point because the front end was submerged.
Hurl says he was able to get the boat to shore, but he says research showed there had been other cases of Sea-Doo switches flipping over. Bombardier Recreational Products issued a safety recall earlier this year and said overloading the front of the boat could result in serious injury or death. It also released a safety video.
Do not allow passengers to sit or gather at the front of the boat that would overload the bow. It may result in the boat nosediving, leading to capsizing.
Hurl believes the safety recall and warnings don't go far enough.
They have not solved the issue with that boat.
When CTV News reached out to Bombardier, a spokesperson said, "Our riders' safety is our top priority, and we are committed to providing products that are safe and in compliance with all applicable laws and regulations." In Canada, the Sea-Doo switch watercrafts comply with small vessel regulations and construction standards regarding flotation tests and weight capacity. Hurl says the boat cost over $60,000, and he wants to return it, saying he doesn't feel safe using it with his family.
Nobody will ever go on that boat again.
And the family has returned the boat to a dealer, but the company says if safety precautions are followed, there's no reason the boat is unsafe. Anyone with one of these boats is advised to follow operating instructions closely. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
All right, you got to love it. Another just beautiful, gorgeous day. Hopefully you had a chance to get outside.
I hope everybody did. Yeah, we're reveling in this beautiful weather. There's so much more to come. A whole week of straight sunshine. Oh, yeah. This is what we're talking about.
This is what we're talking about in September and for the final official week of summer. This is what I think many people wanted for the final week of August when it was a little bit cool and unsettled, but I think most of us will take this. Sure, we haven't had much in the way of rain in September, but let's enjoy the sunshine while we can. In fact, some were out today enjoying the sunshine and cooling off in the water. This was Bluffers Beach. Not only, again, sun worshippers, but people getting right in there into Lake Ontario. You know, the water is starting to cool a little bit, so that might have felt fresh. But hey, I support you. If you want to keep behaving like it is still summer, yeah, why not? It sure feels like it, and will continue to through much of this week before a cold front swings through on Thursday, cooling us down a little bit for Friday. But I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Let's talk about what's happening on the satellite and radar. Not much. We've got a beautiful blue sky out there. We're getting ready to enjoy a sunset, which will be just before 7:30 tonight. Any active weather is well off to our northwest in parts of Manitoba, and well off to the southeast over the Atlantic Ocean right now. We've got high pressure at play. Generally, that means quiet weather conditions, and that is how I would sum up the short-range forecast. Not much in the way of cloud cover, little to no rain in the forecast as we progress through the next 7 days here. Might see a bit of an increase in cloud on Thursday as that front starts to make its way toward us. But yeah, it's quiet, it's sunny. Lots of good weather conditions to get outside and make your plans. Look at Red Lake, Ontario, 28 degrees right now, feeling like 33. It feels like 27 in places like Moosonee and Timmins. It feels like 24 this hour here in the city of Toronto. Not a whole lot in the way of humidity today, but that changes as we progress through the week. Overnight tonight, 13 degrees is our forecast overnight low under clear skies. Tomorrow, wall-to-wall sunshine. Calm easterly winds, 25 degrees, humidex 27 at the height of the afternoon. And again, it continues to get warmer as the week goes on. In fact, 27 degrees is going to feel like 30 tomorrow in St. Thomas, 25 degrees the forecast high for you in Welland as well as Burlington, 24 degrees in places like Aurora and Huntsville. Trenton, 25, and mainly sunny skies for you as well. So that's the short-range forecast. To sum it up, for us in Toronto, by Thursday, we're talking 27 degrees, feeling like 30. So yes, summer very much sticking around. We're back to seasonal on Friday, mix of sun and cloud and a high of about 22 degrees. A noticeable change as we make our way into the weekend, so maybe only 19 degrees for Saturday, but condition-wise, we remain mainly sunny and mostly dry. I'm eyeing the possibility of a few showers into next Monday, which is also the day we officially welcome the fall season. That's the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, we are on the cusp of COVID season and cases are beginning to rise. How vaccine hesitancy in the U.S. could impact immunization efforts here. Doctors are reminding Canadians to take precautions with COVID cases rising, something they say is consistent with the end of summer. CTV's Heather Wright on the rising numbers and the official start of respiratory virus season.
When temperatures start to fall, it's when respiratory viruses begin to rise.
I just felt like I was coming down with something, but it felt a little extra.
Sarah Bartok had never tested positive for COVID until last week.
I had pain throughout my entire body, which then morphed into a migraine. I had pain in my eyeballs, and the fever was quite extreme.
While it's still too early for influenza and RSV, COVID cases are up in many parts of Canada. Nationally, the wastewater viral activity level for COVID is at moderate, but levels are high in Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Regina. While experts don't predict this year's virus to be very different from the past, they are encouraging people to get vaccinated, especially older Canadians.
We know if we look at hospitalization and death, it really is overwhelmingly in that age cohort, especially in those over 80.
This year's respiratory virus season comes at a time of heightened vaccine hesitancy, fueled in part by decisions made south of the border, where access to COVID shots is being limited and vaccine recommendations are changing.
I think it always is concerning when you see a group take a step in a vastly different direction. But I think if you look at Canada compared to much of the world, our policy and advice aligns pretty closely with most other places.
COVID vaccines will begin rolling out across the country later this fall, with Alberta the only province that will now charge most people to get the vaccine. It will still be free for those living in long-term care. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
There are some memorable highlights after one of Hollywood's biggest nights.
The 77th annual Emmy Awards were handed out, and the first award went to a Canadian.
And now the Emmy for lead actor in a comedy series goes to Seth Rogen, The Studio.
Thank you. Wow, this is amazing. I so could not wrap my head around this happening that I literally prepared nothing. I've never won anything in my life. This is really just so lovely, and I feel like I should. I don't know what to say. This is so nice. Thank you. I appreciate you all.
What a night for the studio, taking home a total of 13 Emmys, breaking the all-time record for a comedy series. And Rogen himself went 4 for 4, winning 4 Emmys, tying the record won by a single person in one night.
And 15-year-old adolescent star Owen Cooper became the youngest male ever to win an Emmy, winning Best Supporting Actor in a limited or anthology series. But one of the evening's most interesting moments came when Stephen Colbert's The Late Show won the Emmy for Talk Series.
The Emmy goes to The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
The win was even more poignant and ironic given the decision earlier this year by CBS to cancel The Late Night Show.
At a certain point, and you can guess what that point was, I realized that in some ways we were doing a late night comedy show about loss. And that's related to love, because sometimes you only truly know how much you love something when you get a sense that you might be losing it. And 10 years later, in September of 2025, my friends, I have never loved my country more desperately. God bless America. Stay strong, be brave, and if the elevator tries to bring you down, go crazy and punch a higher floor.
There was also some stargazing going on at a local bar in southern Ontario when an unexpected visitor showed up. Chicago Pub and Billiards in Cambridge said they had no idea Justin Bieber was coming by, but they were happy to host him for an evening out. They say he played pool with a friend, did some karaoke, and posed for photos with fans. After Bieber shared a picture of him playing at one of the billiards tables, the pub says customers began pouring in to catch a glimpse of the celebrity.
After the break, the diaper dilemma. 1 in 5 Toronto families are struggling with the cost of diapers, and at times it can be a barrier. The growing concern and possible solutions.
It is here that they encountered a 62-year-old underhoused male sleeping on a bench. Unprovoked, they began violently beating this male.
Updating our top stories, 2 people, including a 12-year-old boy, are facing charges after what police say was a string of violent assaults across the city's core, including one that left a man dead. Investigators say the 5 attacks all took place on the morning of August 31st and were focused on vulnerable and unhoused people. Police say the pair were both out on release orders at the time the incidents were committed.
What the party really, really needs is someone who can light the lamp, someone who has the political talent to break through, to get noticed, to take the fight to Doug Ford.
The search for a new leader for the Ontario Liberal Party has begun one day after Bonnie Crombie announced she would be stepping down. Crombie received the support of 57% of voting delegates at the party's annual general meeting over the weekend and announced a short time later she would be departing the job she has held for less than 2 years.
You're forced onto one street, you have to make a left here, make a right here, make a left here, make a right here.
And residents of one Toronto neighborhood say an attempt to calm traffic on one street has led to an overflow of traffic on neighboring roads. Changes were made to Palmerston Avenue to make the street more functional for cyclists and pedestrians. But those who live nearby say those changes have simply pushed the vehicles that would normally take Palmerston onto neighboring streets. They want the city to reverse the changes.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
The Canadian Real Estate Association says it recorded the most home sales for August in 4 years. The number of residential properties that changed hands rose 1.9% compared to a year ago, with more than 40,000 home sales across the country last month. Sales also rose just over 1% month over month, marking the 5th straight increase. The CREA says the trend could accelerate this fall, as the season usually brings a surge of new supply. A potential rate cut by the Bank of Canada this week could also spur buyers' interest. The national average sale price in August was $664,000.
2 of Canada's most famous brands are teaming up on a new loyalty program partnership. The program will allow Canadian Tire and Tim Hortons customers to link their Triangle and Tim's reward accounts. That means they will earn Canadian Tire money on eligible purchases at the coffee chain. More details are expected to be released closer to the program's launch, which is set for next year. Well, like so many essentials, the cost of diapers is up,
putting a strain on families and in some cases proving to be a barrier in their lives. CTV's Pauline Chan reports on a local organization's efforts to ensure families don't have to choose between diapers, food, or rent.
So we've built this really large physical wall of diapers as a representation of the fact that for many families, diapers are a barrier that's limiting their ability to get to work. So we are literally blocking people as they're trying to get to work.
All this week, volunteers with Baby Love are talking about the need for diapers with people on the path.
1 in 5 families in Toronto are actually experiencing diaper need. And what inspired our diaper barrier here today is a staggering complementary statistic, which is that for 60% of those families experiencing diaper need, they miss on average 4 days of work or school each month because they don't have the diapers required to drop off their children at childcare. We're so fortunate to work with Irving Personal Care, who provides us with their Royale diaper. It's the only branded diaper made here in Canada. It's hypoallergenic.
The diapers are distributed through community organizations that also provide supportive services such as food and housing.
We get our diapers for about 2.5 times less than retail. And that's really meaningful because diaper prices are actually up 20% in the past 2 years alone. So families are really feeling the crunch. The average newborn can go through 13 to 15 diapers in a day.
And studies show diapers are a young family's fourth largest expense after housing, food, and utilities. A $25 donation buys diapers and wipes for a month.
It's super eye-opening.
This woman was one of those who gave today.
I don't think a lot of people realize that having access to diapers is what gets you into daycare. And when you have daycare, you can go to work. You can go to school, you can have all these other connections.
The Baby Love display will be here at the concourse level of Commerce Court, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. through the end of Friday. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
The Toronto Blue Jays kick off their final road trip of the regular season in Florida tonight, and they will be looking to keep their latest winning streak going.
This is well hit, slicing down the left field line, and it drops in fair. Springer in to score. Lucas right behind him. Guerrero on his way to the plate, and it's a three-run double for Addison Barger.
How about that? Toronto swept its series against the Orioles with an 11-2 win yesterday. This evening, the Jays begin a 4-game set against Tampa Bay. Toronto is up 4 games on the Yankees for first place in the AL East. And imagine being called up for your first major league game in the midst of a pennant race. That will be the case for Trey Savage when he starts for the Jays tonight. The 22-year-old is the team's top pitching prospect and has put up strong numbers at 4 levels of the team's minor league system this season.
It was a comment that struck out with baseball fans in Toronto and across the country.
During the Jays series against Baltimore, an American broadcaster questioned how much Canadians know about the game. Here's CTV's John Venevalley-Rao.
After sweeping the Baltimore Orioles, the Blue Jays continue to be one of the best teams in baseball, almost certainly destined for the playoffs.
Very excited. I love their chances.
Hey guys, it's Brian Roberts here.
But on Friday, this former Orioles second baseman and now broadcast color commentator took a swing at Canadian fans after the crowd in Toronto booed a pickoff attempt by the Orioles pitcher, who was trying to keep the Blue Jays base runner from stealing second. Brian Roberts saying this on air.
Sometimes we had some major questions about the baseball IQ of some Canadians here and there.
He didn't think the fans should boo, since new rules limit pickoff attempts. But on social media, Canadians reacted, noting pickoff attempts being booed happens at every ballpark.
That's what made it really bizarre for Brian to say that, because that's something that all home fans do.
What also made it bizarre is that the Orioles have a losing record and much smaller crowds at home. Still, Roberts went on to say this about Canadians.
I think, at times it felt like maybe they enjoyed or they knew a little bit more about hockey than baseball.
The Blue Jays having fun with the comments, crediting high IQ fans for having a winning record at home. And Blue Jay Ernie Clement, who's American, told the Toronto Star, "The more I play here and the more I get to know the people of Toronto, the more I gain a respect for what they know about baseball."
We know a lot about hockey, but we know just as much about baseball. We're a very intelligent group here in Canada.
And during a broadcast on Sunday, Roberts changed course and said he was sorry.
I hope that they will accept my sincere apology for what I said on the air the other day.
As for Blue Jays fans, they're now focused on the last 2 weeks of the regular season and hoping to show America in the playoffs just how baseball mad Canadians can be. John Venevalley-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Just ahead, Leafs on the links. Players past and present gather at a Milton golf course to drive new opportunities for youth.
Tonight, going head-to-head in the House.
Why is it that all of this Prime Minister's promises of yesterday turn into today's disappointments?
He missed the largest tax cut for 22 million Canadians.
What has party leaders on the offensive as Parliament resumes later on CTV National News.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are gearing up for the upcoming NHL season, but before they hit the ice, today they hit the links.
It was all for a good cause, and it saw Leaf stars of the past and present gathering on the greens in Milton. CTV's Jessica Smith was there.
Trading hockey sticks for golf clubs,
Toronto Maple Leafs players past and present hit the links in Milton today at the Rattlesnake Point Golf Club for a great cause.
I know this team's been helping the community for years, and events like this, it's really fun to be part of.
The annual Leafs and Legends Golf Charity Classic brings together over 250 people, including current Leafs, alumni, and supporters, to drive, putt, and play to raise funds for the MLSE Foundation.
Well, I think it's huge. I think it's a great charity in that all kids need sports, and it's the hardest and probably most expensive things for all kids and parents to do is to get them in the extracurricular activities.
It's a great foundation, and just bringing everyone together to support it is great to be a part of.
The goal with the annual fundraiser is to continue to create opportunities and access to the game for youth in the community and help them reach their goals on and off the ice.
We've been leaning a lot into diversity with our hockey coaches education program, and essentially it's a program that removes barriers for BIPOC youth. So we provide them access to do their coaching education, and then we actually help them find employment after.
A day full of fun hitting the green to help reach their fundraising goals. Proceeds from the tournament will go to continue supporting the MLSE Foundation's efforts to removing systemic barriers from the game of hockey. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
Oh, and what a day to be on the golf course or for whatever you have planned. And it's a beautiful evening as well.
Nice evening, maybe for a twilight round, or tomorrow, the day after that, and maybe the day after that one, you can head outside and enjoy a game of golf because the weather is cooperating for all of this. Here's one more look at what we're dealing with as we make our way through the next 7 days. Want to remind you of the fact that we're going to get a little bit progressively warmer each day, and taking it until Thursday, 27 degrees, feeling like 30, and then heading into the weekend, a little more in the way of cloud cover. If you're missing already more comfortable, cooler conditions, Friday and Saturday are going to offer that, but a bit of humidity returns into the day on Sunday. We officially welcome fall next Monday, and at this point, it looks as though we could be in for a few showers, but we'll need that by then. Michelle and Nathan.
What a gorgeous stretch. Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Ullman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.